A distant, fantastic future. Astronauts from different countries of Earth and alien commanders from different planets flock to the intergalactic Alpha Station. Alpha is a huge cosmic brain, mastering a huge amount of information, on which the Commonwealth of Different Worlds is created. This organization has one drawback. In an emergency release, it is announced that the size and mass of Alpha threatens the safety of Earth. The control center decides to remove the station from Earth's orbit, sending it on a trip to the Magellanic Stream. At the same time, on the distant planet M.L., her radiant Princess Lee awakens. The girl washes her face with pearly pearls, and, in high spirits, she runs out onto the beach, bringing a cute little animal with her. The pearls, the inhabitants of planet M.L., are hard at work, some mining for pearls, and others having fun playing in the sand. The workers bring all the mined stones to the house of the king and queen, and, choosing the shining pearl among them, the queen takes it to her daughter's pet to convert it into energy for the planet. The joy of the inhabitants of M.L. is abruptly replaced by unease. The blue sky is suddenly covered with dark spots from burning fragments, and a giant spaceship falls onto the beach. While the king examines the damaged ship, Princess Lee scrambles between the houses in search of rescue. When she notices the giant meteorite falling, it is too late. Her parents and a group of tribesmen close in on the ship, and they can no longer let the princess in. The girl understands everything, and after saying goodbye through the glass to her father, she turns to face the wave, proudly taking the hit. Thousands of kilometers away from the planet M.L., Major Valerian and Sergeant Laureline, special agents of the United Human Federation, are sunbathing on a sunny beach. The dozing guy jumps up from a dream explosion, but he quickly forgets about the vision, switching to flirting with his partner. Handsome Valerian convinces his girlfriend to give him a chance, but Laureline reminds her buddy of a list she wouldn't want to be on. The Major has long had a collection of broken hearts. The pair settle into the flying pods and, while Laureline takes over the controls, Valerian asks the computer to check his brain activity and decode his dream. To the guy's surprise, it turns out that the vision was generated by someone and the Major received it as a message from an unknown source. As the ship lands, the agents are contacted by a minister who instructs them to extract and deliver a convector to Alpha. The ship is met by a group of mercenaries, who are surprised by the appearance of the agents, but the young men think they can get lost among the tourists in their mesh t-shirts. On the bus, the friends learn that by order of the command they will have to split up. Valerian will go to the Great Market in search of the convector, while Laureline will wait for him at the rendezvous point. Saying goodbye to his girlfriend, Valerian makes a proposal to her along the way, but Laureline treats it as a joke, and after kissing her friend on the cheek, she returns to the bus. At the entrance to the Great Market, guests are given helmets, without which it is impossible to see anything there. After studying a map of the area, Major joins the group and makes her way inside. Meanwhile, the bus pulls up to the rendezvous point, and Laureline hooks one of the mercenaries up with a guard in the tower to monitor the market. In another dimension, the market doesn't look like a normal wasteland. The helmeted guests see it as a huge multi-story city with flying cars. Valerian breaks away from the group and heads to the right store, where he is to be met by Sergeant Cooper. A colleague gives Valerian a special box and makes him invisible so the guy can get out. At the same time, two surviving inhabitants of the planet M.L. come to the local outlaw to buy back a very valuable item from him. The aliens are willing to give up an expensive pearl for him, but the gangster decides to trick the guests and threatens them with a double-barreled gun. Valerian finds himself in the room a second before the shot is fired, and he manages to steal the convector and the pearl. When the guy leaves, the gangster promises that he will find him and get his. The Major does not manage to leave quietly. A scuffle breaks out in the store and Valerian has to flee. Due to the shooting, the guy becomes visible and gets under the arm of a guard who shoots him with magnetic balls. To escape, the Major falls down a sewer manhole and goes underground, into an alien game club. From there the guy has to run away too, and having risen to the surface he finally gets to the wall, where Laureline is waiting for him. The girl helps her friend get out of the parallel world, and at the last moment the pair manage to leave with the converter box and the purple pearl. The mercenaries standing guard spot the chase and relay the information to the agents. Under cover from the tower, the pair make it to the bus, which immediately kicks the gas, but the company still has to fight off a giant monster sent after them by a robbed gangster. Valerian calls his ship for help, and he and Laureline escape, leaving the crew to deal with the giant alone. The monster manages to jump onto the ship, and the Major tries to throw him off, but in the meantime the guy has to make excuses to his superiors for being too late. Finished with the stowaway, Laureline opens a drawer and pulls out a converter, a beast that has been generating energy on the planet M.L. To cure the creature, the girl sends it to a chamber with enriched uranium. Valerian sends the jewel to be diagnosed, and the computer tells him about the planet M.L., which was destroyed 30 years ago. The guy tries to find out details related to his dream, but the program turns out to be closed. Only the higher-ups have access to it. The couple prepares to land on Alpha, and Valerian brings up the subject of marriage again, but Laureline dodges the question and gets to work. Since their last meeting, Alpha Station has grown a lot. As they approach the landing pad, the special agents gather information about the peoples who inhabit the city of 1,000 planets. The general is unhappy with the agents' tardiness, but he tells them that a year ago a radioactive zone was discovered in the center of the station that cannot be explored. The drones and special forces that were sent there have not returned. The commander joins the conversation and believes that the mysterious zone must be destroyed immediately before it harms the entire station. It seems strange to Valerian that someone wants to harm the abode of all planets, but the commander stands his ground. He gets permission from his superiors to destroy the red zone. The commander-in-chief assigns Laureline and Valerian to guard the commander despite his displeasure, but as soon as the monitor goes off, the commander lets the agents know that they should not stick their noses into the matter. The commander leaves all the guards outside the door and enters the room, where the doctors are pulling information from the exhausted inhabitant of the planet M.L. Learning that the alien is silent, the commander orders him to get what he needs, at any cost. Valerian and Laureline come to the commander and he demands that the converter be given to him, but the girl refuses, assuring him that the beast will be safer with her. The entire company gathers for a meeting of the Security Council, and the commander orders the agents not to leave. While the commander speaks to representatives of other planets, telling them about the horrors of the red zone, Laureline, who is left to guard the entrance, is visited by guests, alien duckbills. The girl tries to learn something from them about the planet M.L., but the self-serving gossipers only tell her for free about Major Sonkar, who knew much about the tragedy of M.L., but a year ago he mysteriously disappeared. Laureline doesn't have time to get more out. An alarm goes off at the station, and the girl prepares to repel an attack by unknown raiders. The agents try to evacuate the commander, but all the doors are blocked. There is nothing the pair can do, and pearls break into the hall, which bombard the gathered with slippery cocoons. As the warriors leave, Valerian frees himself and frees Laureline. The pair realize that the pearls have kidnapped the commander, and the major, instructing his girlfriend to free the general, pursues the raiders to save the boss. The girl tries to lead her buddy out of the command post, but on her tip Valerian has to punch through walls with his head. Despite the difficulty, the major runs through the alien settlements and nearly catches up with the pearls, but Laureline gets the airlock number wrong and the agent falls out into outer space. The ship picks up Valerian and he pursues the enemy shuttle, trying to break through their shielding. The guy manages to hit it, but the ship disintegrates into dozens of small pods before his eyes. The stormtrooper becomes cramped in pursuit, and the major switches to Skyjet, trying to catch the pod with the commander. Looking at the monitor, Laureline sees her partner being lured into the red zone, but Valerian fails to slow down in time, and he disappears off the radar. Laureline is about to go looking for her friend, but the general forbids the girl to take the risk. She tries to convince the commander that the pearls are not dangerous, otherwise they would destroy everyone at the meeting. In the sergeant's opinion, someone is trying to turn them against the inhabitants of planet M.L., but the general doesn't want to listen to the girl's fantasies and assigns guards to her. The girl easily takes out the two guards and, having grabbed a gun from them, she convinces the platypuses to help her in her search for Valerian. Upon learning of the girl's escape, the general gives the order to go in search of her, and decides to test her theory about the pearls. Opening the program, the commander sees that he too has no access to the file, and this seems suspicious to him. The duckbills lead Laureline to the submarine owner, who helps her find the brain jellyfish stored on the giant sea creature. It's not easy for the boat, but the hunters find what they need and, having escaped the monster's jaws, they return to base. Now Laureline must put a brain jellyfish on her head to show her where Valerian is. The sergeant follows all the instructions and she manages to see some inscriptions, thanks to which the platypus makes her a detailed map of the search, but as soon as the girl leaves, the corrupt trio reports everything to the general. Laureline finds Valerian and his wrecked shuttle. The girl resuscitates her friend, but instead of words of gratitude, the major kisses her friend, making her angry about it. The general finds a prisoner, who continues to be tortured for information. Octobar orders the doctor's arrest and frees Pearl, who asks the commander for help. While Valerian fixes the ship, Laureline admires the butterflies that drag her away. Catching the same insect, Major rushes to the aid of his friend and the trail leads him to the alien palace in Bliss Alley where the girl was brought. The computer prompts the guy to reincarnate, and the Major goes in search of the costume. At the same time, the general discovers that someone has purposely erased all information about the planet M.L. Valerian finds a nightclub where the Glamourpod bubble, a creature capable of assuming any appearance, works. Meanwhile, Laureline tries to negotiate with the aliens, but the language barrier prevents them from doing so, and the girl goes berserk. At the entrance to the club, Valerian's gun is taken away, and the owner seats a guest in the center so he can enjoy the show. The Major does briefly forget what he came here for. After finishing the show, Babel approaches the guy and her fingers scan his brain, extracting important characters from there. Valerian has to make an effort to realize that he's just a Glamourpod and not Laureline or the Secretary of Defense in front of him. Finally, the girl assumes a decent appearance and Valerian asks her to help him infiltrate the palace, in exchange for a multi-passport he will make her. Once out of the club, the artiste assumes the appearance of an alien and hides Valerian inside her. The girl has a hard time with this role, but the other guards do not realize that something is wrong with her comrade, and the spies sneak in. To blend in with the crowd, Babel grabs a tray and joins the other aliens, who take turns serving food to the Emperor, but he does not like it all. Suddenly Valerian notices a girlfriend. In a fancy dress she presents the Emperor with a giant lemon, but it turns out that this is just a condiment. The monster is going to dine on the girl herself. The Major destroys the Emperor and his cronies, and while Babel deals with Laureline, the boy fends off the attack of the other guards. One of the aliens attacks the girls, but the two of them manage to repel the attack. When it seems to be over, a whole army appears in the hall, but the company escapes through a trapdoor leading underground. The minister puts the general in charge and gives him access to all the files. Opening the program, Octobar again stumbles upon classified information, but he manages to learn something. The company ends up in a garbage dump under lockdown and it turns out that Babel has been badly hurt. The girl manages to reincarnate into a beautiful character and after asking her friend to take care of Laureline, she turns into ashes. Valerian leads his friend to the base and along the way he admits that the voice of Princess Lee has been guiding him the whole time in his head. The pair make it to the red zone and are greeted by the king's son, Sui. The boy guides the guests through the mother-of-pearl layer, and they find themselves in a hidden city of pearls. The emperors know that their daughter's consciousness has chosen Valerian, and the mother happily makes contact with Lee. When the touching moment ends, the pearls tell the agents about their planet, about how happily they lived, and about how M.L. died because of the war that happened over them. The wreckage of the ships destroyed their beautiful world, but it could still have been saved if not for the commander's order to use forbidden torpedoes. Only a small handful of pearls managed to escape on a half-destroyed ship, and they drifted through space for many years, mastering information that was previously inaccessible to them. Thanks to the junkies, the surviving pearls made their way to Alpha, and for several more years they lived very secretly, exchanging knowledge and experience with some of the inhabitants of the vast system. Finally putting together all the knowledge and experience, the pearls have managed to build their own ship, on which they can restore everything exactly as it was on M.L. For this they lack only a convector and a pearl. The commander comes to his senses and orders the major to arrest all the pearls, but the guy accuses the commander of destroying the planet M.L. At first the commander assures that he did not know the planet was inhabited, but later he admits that he ignored the safety of the pearls in the name of his victory. The commander feels no guilt and orders his agents to eliminate witnesses from the planet M.L., but Valerian throws aside politeness and deals with the criminal man to man. At this time, The troops approach closely to the passageway by order of the general, who follows the commander's plan. Laureline is about to give the convector to the pearls, but Valerian realizes that this is overkill. They could both end up in prison for such a thing. The pair whisper for a long time, and eventually the girl manages to convince the major to give the people back what is owed to them. The army surrounds the passageway, but sensors show that there is no radiation or contamination. This once again makes the general wonder that not everything is clean in the commander's orders. The convector creates hundreds of pearls that power the ship and turn it into an island paradise. The Empress thanks the agents for their help and frees Valerian from her daughter's consciousness. The scouts report to the king that their ship is surrounded by explosives. Hearing this, the major asks to be allowed to contact the outside world to report everything to the general. To bide their time, the pearls go out to the army and show their friendliness. Valerian at this point contacts Octobar and asks him to stop the attack. The lad tells of the attack on M.L., and that the commander tried to erase all traces of his crime, but Octobar is hesitant to break the charter without confirmation from the commander. The pair bring in the traitor, but he refuses to call off the assault, though he admits his guilt. He gives the order to attack and his robot guards come into play, opening fire on the Pearl and the military from their own ship. Valerian leaves his girlfriend with the commander and goes to the center of the battle himself to stop the explosion. The general's aide also tries to stop the mechanism while Valerian covers him. He manages to set the timer to stop 1 second before the disaster. During this time, the Pearls manage to fly away in their ship, leaving a huge hole. Examining the wreckage, the military notices the suspended commander, and the general orders his arrest. Valerian and Laureline Pearl are dropped off in space, not far from where the couple wants to spend their vacation. The major returns to his proposal, and this time he gives his girlfriend a ring created from a magical pearl from the planet.